Hello everybody and welcome to Let's Play Pathfinder Kingmaker. As per usual, I'm a little bit late to the party. Since this game has been released in 2018, there has since been another Pathfinder game released recently, but I had to ensure that the timing was right for this game, both in my LPing schedule and also my personal schedule too, because I'm aware it's a long one and requires some decent time investment, and so the timing had to be right for me to be able to properly devote my time to this game and enjoy it, because I am assured that it is quite the experience. As most of you will know, but some of you may be new, I am a big fan of RPGs, particularly those that are in this style, the isometric view, the kind of, tabletop rule set, your Divinities, your Baldur's Gates, your Pillars of Eternities, those kind of stuff. That kind of stuff really does sit very well with me, so I'm assured that I'm going to really enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to diving in. So, as per usual, I've created a character, given that character a personality, and I intend to take that character through this game to see what they might get up to. Memorable events, memorable stories, let's hope so. Let's have some fun, and let's dive in, finally, to Pathfinder Kingmaker. Of course, we're going through the main story. And I also have got to say, of course, that the music. I'm digging the music. So the first decision we make before we dive into character creation is, what difficulty do we play on? Now, I am aware also that this game is quite a challenge, even on some of the more normal difficulty levels. So I looked at the difference between normal and challenging, and I'm picking a difficulty that kind of slots between the two of them. So for instance, on normal, critical hits are weak, but on challenging, critical hits are normal, and I want critical hits to be normal. I want Death's Door to be on, just to... It's mainly for the progression of the series. I don't want to go too hardcore, which requires us to constantly be reviving dead characters, which is actually quite a tricky thing to do, apparently, because it'll slow the pacing down in what's already quite a long game. So some decisions and some things that I do is to hopefully maintain the pace to some degree. So we're keeping Death's Door on. The rest of this we're leaving off. Auto level, of course, is off. Now on normal, the enemy stat adjustments is down as somewhat easier. On challenging, it's down as somewhat tougher. So I'm going for a bit of the in-between, so I'm going to go for normal. Damage to party on normal is 0.8, on challenging it's 1, so we'll leave it on 1. And enemy difficulty set to normal. Party speed depends on the weight. Again, this is more of a progression thing. If I was playing off camera and really diving in, I'd probably turn this on, but I don't want to be walking around the map at a snail's pace when our bags are full, so we'll leave that off. Retrain on, just in case I make a cock up with my build. And the kingdom management, I'm not sure how this works, but I'm going to leave it on easy. I'm not overly fussed for that, although it may tickle my fancy when it kicks in. I'm hoping you can change some of these settings when the game's active, we'll see. The rest of this is off by default, and we shall leave them off. So that is the difficulty. As I say, it's a bit of a mix between normal and challenging, so it kind of falls in a happy middle place, I kind of think here. So, the final step is to create our character. And before I dive into character creation itself proper, I have created a little bit of a backstory for our character. So it's about 5 minutes long, so sit back, enjoy, and say hello to our adventurer. Irages, a small city of near 5,000 people deep within the elven nation of Kyanene. Our character, a half-elven adolescent born to a half-elven coupling, was destined, like so many in his position, to carry on the family business of selling fish from Lake and Carthen. Honest work for honest pay, his father would say, but that pay was only just enough for the family to survive on, given the sheer competition in the city, despite the abundance of fish in the lake. And besides, hauling fish in nets was certainly not what our character needed to stimulate his active mind. He showed a great level of intelligence, perception and curiosity from a very young age, and would often engage whomever would entertain him in verbal sparring bouts for his own amusement. Bouts he would often win, leaving his competitors twisted in knots and wondering what the hell had just happened. No, fishing was not on the horizon for our character. Instead, he had set his sights on the great Iradjez Academy. "We cannot afford to send you there," his parents would say when he raised the subject repeatedly, but our character is not one to back down easily. He has a tendency to fervently pursue a goal which has become a fixation, a burning desire, oftentimes blindly and to the detriment of those caught in the crossfire, in whatever actions or harebrained schemes our character undertakes to reach his target. The entrance fee to the academy was not likely to be found in the sleepy city of Iradjez, our character concluded, and so he set out to pastures new, the nearby port city of Greengold. Greengold, a bustling city chock full of merchants and diplomats, together with the usual riffraff of shady types and the impoverished that you usually find at a dockside settlement. Just perfect for his plan. With so many potential suspects wandering around, a highly skilled and careful thief taking from the rich would hardly draw suspicion next to these amateurs. And besides, it's not as if those fat cats don't have enough money to go around anyway. And so the path was laid out, and our character set to work practicing in preparation to ply his new trade. It was easy when you knew where to look. Our character used his wit, charm, and intelligence to locate and infiltrate a local thieves' guild. Well, gang at best. Nonetheless, this small collection of hoodlums provide our character with the necessary information, mentoring, and training to pick the most complex of locks, disarm the most dangerous of traps, and reach those places that seemed impossible to access to the uninitiated. All this in exchange for a cut of the proceeds, such was our character's confidence in his ability to be a success. Those scumbags' trust was well placed, as our character went on such a spree, pilfering from those with far too much money to count, and there was a sizable reward put out for mere information on who could be robbing the city's bigwigs blind without a trace. Before long, and after having far too much fun, our character duly paid his debts to his thieving brothers-in-arms, got far too drunk in celebration on more than one occasion, and eventually returned to Iradjez, coin purse bulging with the academy fees and more. The Iradjez Academy, an esteemed place of learning about archaeology and history. Our character even learned the basics of wielding a dagger from the Black Ash Training Grounds, a martial wing within the academy itself. But it was at this great establishment that our character learnt one thing about himself. He couldn't abide conforming to the mundane practice of doing what one is told. Be at this lesson at this time, handing this assignment by this deadline, studying this topic today, rule after rule after rule. The academy, although mentally stimulating at times, was an overall frightfully dull place, our character concluded, and so after just over a year of enduring the drudgery, he left in pursuit of something much more fun to do. It was around about this time that he had heard about a barony, potentially up for grabs in the stolen lands not too far north from his current position. it would need to be taken from some stag lord, apparently. But taking things was what our character found most exhilarating, not so long ago. He pondered, and concluded that this was the type of fun he was after. And so after saying his goodbyes to his parents, and leaving them a few surplus coins from his green gold escapades, he set off to ply his trade on a grander scale. Alright, so there he is, our character. So while you were listening, I was just making a few little tweaks to the character creation first screen. So first of all, the portrait. This is a custom portrait. I'll link the mod in the description because it's a pretty good mod actually. It's an exe program, and you can import whichever portraits you want. You just need to put the URL of where the portrait is into this program, and it automatically crops it into 3 sizes for you and exports it straight to your portraits folder. Very handy indeed. And those portraits which a team of people must kind of go through and think, oh, that's worth keeping, they add to a personal library within the program itself too, so it's really, really good. And this is one of the portraits that I found within the library itself. So yeah, I'll link that in the description of the video just in case you want to have a play with that. So yeah, half elf is our character. So it's a bit of a running joke when it comes to me and RPGs. I kind of pick the same characters. I'm a simple man, you see. So in this playthrough, I've decided to pick a character, race and class that I've not played before. So I always play as humans in RPGs, and I have played as a couple of dwarves, Horston in Dragon Age Origins and also Godan in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. But I've never played as a half-elf. So I thought, you know what, I quite fancied a half-elf. When I was looking at all the backstories and all the blurbs of the different characters, different races, half-elf stood out. So that's why I picked that one. And plus, you know, it's not too far from a human, because it's half human, half elf, of course. So, you know, it's different, but still some vague similarities. One step at a time, of course. So that's the first thing. And of course, the character class, which you will have probably gathered from the introductory video, is going to be a rogue. Never ever played a rogue in any RPG before, so that's going to be a completely new experience for me. But anyway, here he is. I've made him look as close to the portrait as possible, which actually I don't think is too bad at all. And I've made him left-handed because, well, why the hell not? So he's going to be a rogue, a half-elf rogue, which is going to be a hell of a lot of fun, I feel. So we'll see how that pans out. And here we have the progression screen of the different abilities that we get at the various levels. I won't be multi-classing. I will just be sticking with rogue. And I hear that the big thing for rogues is this this sneak attack ability, the ability to get a bonus d6, which increases every odd level up to a maximum of 10 d6. That's going to be how we do most of our damage. So we're going to make sure that we're flanking the enemy, maybe tripping them up and making them immobile to take advantage of this this great bonus that we get for sneak attacking. So we'll see how that pans out. So I won't go into these in too much detail. I'm supposing most of you are probably quite experts when it comes to this thing, but we can go through these as and when we get into the game. Skills then. We start with our ability points. And again, these are born out of the character that I have created, but I still think it will serve as like a functional rogue without being too hamstrung. Of course, our main racial bonus, which is what we get for being a half-elf, we can pick a 2-point bonus in any of the scores that we want, is going to be dexterity. We're a pretty proficient thief. Mobility and trickery is our forte. We picked up that kind of, we picked up these things relatively quickly. And showed great proficiency in the art. So dexterity, of course, going to be our specialism. Taking that up to 18 to start with. Constitution, we're going to be stabbing things. It's not going to be massively high, but I want some functionality. From up close and personal with the enemy, but we are going to be somewhat of a bit of a glass cannon, so Constitution of 12. Intelligence. We're a switched-on individual, and we've also studied at the Rajas Academy. We're not a genius by any stretch. We didn't stay in the academy for long enough to gain as much knowledge as we perhaps could have done, but yeah, we're a pretty smart individual. Wisdom, on the other hand, perhaps not so wise. We're young. We're an adolescent. And therefore don't have that life experience that some of the older people out there might have. So wisdom at 10. And then finally, charisma. And I appear to have an odd number, which I'm wondering, have I made this build incorrect? Yes, I have, because I'm going to put some into strength. 8. So charisma at 14. Because we're also a pretty charming individual. Charming, witty, enjoys a bit of a debate, getting one up on the opponent when it comes to verbal spats, and therefore we're going to be maxing out our persuasion as much as we can too. So there you go. That's his ability scores. And in terms of the skill points, we got seven skill points with our current intelligence. We think we'll get 7 points every time we level up. There are 8 recommended skills for us to put points into, and we're going to start with athletics so that we don't get a negative here, and then we're going to go through the rest, apart from knowledge on this occasion. So what we will do is every level up we'll put points into mobility, trickery, stealth, perception, persuasion, and use magical device, and then every alternate level we'll put a point in knowledge, world, and athletics. So we'll alternate between the two for those 2 skills. In terms of our ability, we get a bonus feat at first level, which we can pick, which is a skill focus, and we're going to focus on persuasion. And finally, we get a second feat, which we're going to put straight away into 2-weapon fighting, because we're going to be a dual-wielding dagger kind of rogue. Quite traditional, but it's something that I say I've never done, so it should be fun. And 2-weapon fighting reduces our penalty that we suffer to hit as a result of wielding 2 weapons, and because we're also using a light weapon, a dagger, we get a further reduction on top of that too, so that's pretty good. So there you have it, my friends. That is the vast majority of our build done. Our birthday, 10th of the 5th month. Recognise that date? Pragmatic voice. And our alignment is, don't know if you could guess it from the introductory blurb. I'm giving you time to guess. Chaotic neutral. Chaotic neutral. Our character, not one for laws, not one for being told what to do, is a bit of a free spirit. Does things on a whim. Can be quite unpredictable. And there's one trait of half-elves that's quite interesting, which I'm hoping to develop as the story goes on, and that is because they've got the short-lived human blood and traits mixed in with the longer-living and more slow-paced, patient elven blood/traits, there is often an internal conflict to be had in half-elves, which can often manifest itself in madness. Yeah, that would be quite fun. Will our character turn into a madman by the end of this series? We'll see. But yeah, chaotic neutral is going to be very much a free spirit. He does things that he wants to do for reasons that are his own. Okay, so the final piece of the puzzle. What is our character called? Well, Elquist. Don't ask me why. This is always the most tricky part of any character creation, I'm sure you'll agree, and I usually name my characters after previous LP characters or twists on game things that stick in my mind, and this has got nothing to do with any of them. It's just a random name that I came up with. Hopefully it'll roll off the tongue soon. But here he is, Elquist, the half-elven rogue, going for a barony. Join me in the next session as we dive into Pathfinder Kingmaker proper. I'm really looking forward to this. I hope you are too. And for those of you that are experts in the game, feel free to give me gameplay tips and advice and strategies and things, but this is blind, so please do keep any storyline spoilers to, I say, a minimum, preferably non-existent if you can. But yeah, we'll dive in proper next time, so until then, my friends, I'll see you soon.
I didn't even break a sweat.
Perfect. Showing his cocky side.